the next hour, he'll be unleashing the power of natural medicine and conscious living. So listen up, America. It's the Adam Harman Show.
Hey, welcome to the Adam Harman Show. You are listening to Adam Harman. And we today have an amazing show. I'm so excited about it. Today's show, we're talking about EMF radiation. Ooh, sounds scary, right? Well, you know, whether it's radiation that's coming from your cell phone, the microwave, your TV, power lines overhead, new science is starting to show it may be affecting your health and mental well-being. There have been a number of news pieces and documentaries on the subject as well, but today we're going to take a deeper dive into how EMFs and other negative frequencies may not only be affecting your body and mind, but your spirit as well. That's pretty cool, right? So today's guest has done a lot of investigation on this subject. Dayden Rael has over 35 years of experience as a design engineer in the automotive, industrial, and architectural design. Considered to be the best Class A surface developer to the world's largest automotive companies, as well as an international experience in product design and development on concept cars for major motion pictures as well. Dayden's mastery of what's known as the art-to-part process, integrated a state of and working with integrating it with state-of-the-art CAD systems, has prepared him to create the advanced electromagnetic transmutation technologies and pendants in the world. This is the world of what's known as frequential art. It is his passion for life and breaking the mold on new levels of design that inspires Dayden to integrate his engineering expertise with the knowledge of descriptive sacred geometry, radionics, and radiothesia into his position as co-founder of Sovereign Alliance. Dayden Rael, welcome to the Adam Harman Show.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Oh, so good, so good. You know, your endeavors that you're focused on right now are providing solutions for environmental toxins, specifically electromagnetic fields. What is an EMF anyway?
Well, basically, it's what's around us every day. It's all of our systems that we use today, all of our electronic components, which you could say even refrigerators, emit an electromagnetic field. So anything that has electricity running through it creates an electromagnetic field.
Oh my!
And what's been happening now, though, is as we've been increasing our personal, use systems, cell phones, iPads, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, these types of things have brought in an increase in a specific electromagnetic field, which seems to be much more intense and harmful than we ever had in the past. Although we've all grew up with, at least I know you and I did, with statements like "don't live next to high-tension power lines" because of the possibility of their carcinogenic, capabilities.
Right.
We now have a situation where we seem to have forgotten all that, and because we feel, well, this is just something that we can't see, feel, or touch. It's out in the environment. Let's just go on our merry way because we like our cell phones. And don't get me wrong, I like my cell phone and my computers and my environment.
Well, you're going to tell us a little later on how we can handle that, but tell us more about this.
Yeah. Well, as I said, everything with just straight electricity that we had, that in itself was bad enough. But the ambient density of the electromagnetic fields from that was not that much. I mean, your standard power lines as they pass by, some people could feel those when they were, again, high tension power lines. But your regular electricity coming to your house, you didn't really feel because it didn't have that large of a spread around the power line, so it virtually dissipated by the time it got to the ground.
Right.
Although when you now have things like we said, with cell phones and whatnot, but worse yet, we now have smart meters in our environment, and that's where we've really seen some increase in what we call electromagnetic sensitivity.
Wow. So I mean, many people have seen all of these these different documentaries and different things listed on Facebook about EMF fields, and I mean, why? I mean, this is part of our environment. A lot of people are thinking, well, the government wouldn't give us cancer or something like that. These things are passed by the FCC, so on and so forth. Why should people really care about this EMF field?
Well, what we found, Adam, is that EMF weakens the life force of the body's energetic fields. It affects the brain waves, but as we've delved into the subtle nuances of what's really going on within the body, we found that it attacks the amygdala glands.
Wow.
And the amygdala glands are your emotional control center for the body. So that really what's happening is it's putting you in fight or flight mode all the time. Your body never has an opportunity to rest. And through that, it's creating what would you call it? Basically an endomorphic response in the body as the adrenal glands go into overdrive, right?
Yeah.
And because you're now in fight or flight, and you don't know it, you might be feeling calm, but your body's always in that constant, tense moment. So we're starting to see adrenal overload, which then depolarizes the endocrine system. And those are the glands that produce the hormones and control that literally are controlled by the central nervous system.
Right.
So if you're attacking the central nervous system, right, you're gonna run into breakdown sooner or later. You can't run at 100 miles an hour. Our bodies were not designed to do that. So ultimately, the mitochondria, you have a mitochondria dysfunction,
right,
and then that undermines the entire immune system, which, as you know, provides the fertile ground for which disease can flourish. So there's, as you mentioned, there's a lot of things hitting the internet right now, and there's a lot of counter things hitting the internet. For every one, there's about 5 counter ones because, we could say, well, there's a lot of money involved in that, whole scenario. And I agree with you. Why would the government, allow us to do these things? But we could also talk about saccharin, which is a, whole
that's a whole nother story,
right?
Woohoo!
So, but we are seeing things like, the World Health Organization. Even though they have contradictory statements in different areas, but they talk about how it is, they're releasing documents now how it could be potentially carcinogenic.
Wow.
Right? That gets us back to the whole concept of high tension power lines with leukemia and things like that. But again, all that went underground. But these things are, around us every day, and we're if we take into effect, even hybrid, automobiles and electric cars, that's an electromagnetic field that you're literally sitting in. And if we look at European standards, which are much better or much higher, I guess you could say,
right,
are much more stringent than we have in this country. If you look at those for, say, arc welding, the electric welding, safety standards, and that's with an operator having an arc welder hanging over their shoulder, and so it's like right next to vital organs. They have certain standards for how much current can actually go through that, even though it's a shielded cable. Your hybrid automobiles are running upwards of 10 times that amount.
Wow.
If not more.
That is crazy.
That's sitting right next to you. So you're literally pulling all of this right next to your vital organs, prostrate and ovarian, organs are right there. Is that going to have an effect? I think it will. It's just a matter of time before we see a continuity in occurrences.
This is very, very interesting stuff. And I know a lot of our listeners are probably wondering right now, do I have a problem with this? I mean, what are some of the symptoms that our listeners might be experiencing if they have or living in a toxic EMF environment?
Right. Well, they come in varying degrees. I think it's a physiological, attribute, because some people, as we were growing up, we were all subject to the same amount of stress of being teenagers, but some of us ended up with mono, and some did not.
There
right?
we go.
So we see varying degrees of symptoms. First, you'd start with perhaps chronic fatigue, sleep disorders. Then you get into because you're constantly running this fight or flight, you have irritability. Then you have and then you have headaches. Those usually start in the frontal lobe of the head, from the cerebral cortex there. Then that can lead to grinding of teeth, or what they call bruxism. And we've also now been seeing strong correlation in cases of in increased cases of shingles, which we see is related to Epstein-Barr. And Epstein-Barr is a stress-related virus within the body that is, that's where we, came up with, that's where I should say mononucleosis stems from. Shingles is very much related to that because it's a stress-related disorder.
Wow.
So these are all related to these increases in our environment. And then it gets worse where there are cases where individuals cannot live within, say, 25 miles of a cell phone tower. Some instances in Sweden, we've read documentation of husband and wife that, they had, if they were going to wash the clothes, they'd turn on the washing machine and then leave the house for the 2 hours because they couldn't handle the headaches as a result of the EMF.
That is crazy. This is such great information. I'm so glad my listeners are listening to it. We're heading into a news break, though, so don't touch that dial. And we'll be back with more of Dayden Rael and talking about EMFs.
All right, guys. Ready? I totally had a brain fart there. My bad. Okay.
Ooh. We are back, and you're listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio 790 AM KABC. And we're back here again with Dayden Rael from Sovereign Alliance and a new perspective on EMF radiation. Dayden, thanks for hanging with us here.
No worries.
Hey, we got so many questions here. I mean, what can you tell us about a solution that you have that you've created as it relates to these EMF problems?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. My studies in engineering, you go through analysis studies and you look for, solutions in these given circumstances, but then you get into it leads into other things. And one of my key notes of study before I became EMF sensitive was, into Egyptology and radionics. And through Egyptology, it was fascinating because we weren't just studying, everybody studies the pyramid. We were studying the actual temples and the construction of temples because, I also have an architectural background too.
Right.
So when we looked at the temples of Egypt, and then you start looking at the radionic elements that the temples themselves created, or I should say the radionic space that they created, and how it affected different energy lines that radiate across the earth. Most people call those ley lines,
right.
But there's also other lines that like the Harman grid and whatnot, we started seeing that just by the sheer shape and design and dimensions of the temples themselves, the geometry, it actually displaced those ley lines and grids.
The sheer space of it displaced these ley lines?
That is correct. The sheer space and geometry, the sheer element of it. So within the temple itself, there was no EMF interference. And that's EMF from the sun. That's EMF from other things. You know, we could get really esoteric as to other elements that they were trying to shield themselves from or trying to protect themselves from.
Right.
And what's really interesting about that is it was what in our studies then we found that those were what we call shape-caused waves of interference. So you have one wave coming in, another wave, is introduced that is maybe a phase-shifted wave, and it creates a counter wave that then neutralizes that wave.
Huh.
And that's exactly what they were doing. It's the same thing that you find within radionics. You have two different schools of thought within that, with X dilutions versus C dilutions, and X dilutions are in a phase shift that neutralizes or like kills like, or then you have the C dilutions, which are in phase and they actually amplify or induce.
Interesting.
So through that the study of those, which I had about 5 years of study, I started noticing that I was having health issues. And one of those was the fact that I was grinding my teeth. I had a classic case of bruxism. I ended up having 3 root canals as a result of it.
Wow.
Then started getting extreme headaches and fatigue, which I didn't know what it was caused by, but lo and behold, it was. I later discovered that it was because they put a smart meter on the outside of my office where I was working, and literally I couldn't keep myself awake while I was there.
Wow.
So it was having these effects. Then through these, the studies that different institutes that I went to. One of them was Vesica Institute that focused on vibrational radiesthesia. We discovered what was really happening with these with EMF, and that took us down that rabbit hole. And as a result, we decided, well, I have a choice. I can either move away from all civilization and all cell phone towers.
That's going to be rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really rough, especially when you enjoy what you're doing and it happens to be in a metropolis. Right? Or a metro center. So I said, well, let's take my background as an engineer and a solution provider, and let's see what we can find, what we can come up with to help myself and others, because there'd have to be other people that are having this circumstance, which I then did find out there is quite a few people.
Yes.
And come up with a system that would help individuals thrive in our modern EMF saturated environments, because really, we're not going to cut down cell phone towers. We're not going to get rid of all electricity, in our lives. It's here to stay. The only thing we can do is try to come up with something that could help us to survive in that. Now, the one thing that I will say is what we don't do is we don't create systems that deal with the actual radiation. Now, a lot of people talk about the radiation of EMF.
Right.
For instance, when you see cell phone studies, you have the radiation, don't hold it next to your ear. In fact, it's right there in the instruction manual of your Apple phone that says, don't hold this phone within, 2 inches of your head.
Is that like 1-point print or something?
Sorry?
Is that like 1-point print or something like that? I missed that one.
No, it's right there.
Wow.
It's like they're counting on the fact that none of us read instructions. I'm one of those weirdo people that read instructions.
There we go. Thank God for people like you.
What?
Thank God for people like you.
Exactly.
All right.
So naturally, they even state, don't do that. However, that's the radiation element. We're not dealing with the radiation element. We're dealing, because there's things out there that you can use, that will absorb that will block that. We are dealing with the subtler elements of the EMF wave. We found that within EMF, electromagnetic field, there's the electric and then there's the magnetic. So when you separate the two, you have the electric, which we consider to be the detrimental, and then you have the magnetic, which is not so bad. We see magnetic therapy all the time.
Right.
It's just when you combine the two, what are you getting? So we looked at what it would take, from a what sacred geometry we could incorporate into this, and we found that there are systems within, again, like the way the temples were designed in Egypt, that if we create a design that not only looks good, it also has the elements within it that naturally neutralize the detrimental elements. So we just let the wave come in, let it do its thing.
Right.
Just leave your baggage at the door, or leave your garbage at the door.
So what you're trying to tell me here is you've taken this ancient wisdom and you've applied it to this major modern problem.
That's exactly correct. Yes. Where we are today with, and actually we did it through the use of holograms. Holograms are a wonderful system to do that with. In the past, we've used crystals, temples, and other sacred spaces. You know, the oracles of old, they would go deep into the ground because they would find caverns that resonated at the right frequency for what they wanted to achieve.
Right.
And it cut them off. You know, the mountain would shield them from all outside, influence.
Wow.
And the problem is we are now in our modern age, the intensity of our the intensity of our EMF
right.
is far in excess of what they ever encountered even 100 years ago.
Wow.
Right. So now comes the need to counter modern technology with modern technology, and so enter the hologram as a carrier system that we can build into it what we want, but then we strategically place them in multiple in quantity.
Right.
Okay, it's not just one. We found if you put something in the middle of the room, it usually doesn't do anything. There's certain stacking elements that you have to take into effect. So our system's not necessarily complicated, but it's a little bit difficult to understand at first. But in strategically placing these holograms within a room, say, you completely neutralize the detrimental elements, and you get an instantaneous transformation of the space.
You know, it's really interesting because I took 8 of these holograms and put them in the different corners of my room. I had just got done with breaking up with a girlfriend, and she was always on my mind, and I could feel her, because I'm a sensitive person, I could feel her thinking about me as well. As soon as I put those holograms in there, all of a sudden, it was like a quiet room. There was none of this feeling of raciness inside me. I felt calm. It was almost like someone turned on a switch. Like, you ever see those switches you turn on for like a Bose noise dampening earphone? It's just like, bang, and it stopped all of this energy in the room, and I finally got to sleep after nights and nights. Have you heard about this type of thing happening with other people who use your holograms?
Interesting you brought that up. Yeah, every circumstance we have dealt with, every individual, every bit of feedback we get has said the same thing. They feel an instantaneous calm. It's actually very interesting you brought up the noise cancellation headphones too, because that's exactly what our technology follows. We're creating that counter wave. One circumstance was I was sitting at dinner with a couple of individuals, 4 of us at the table. Cindy and I had, my wife and I had our phones had already been transmuted, and I actually put the holograms on their cell phones immediately. Even just in our space, more than likely because there was 4 of us, and actually we were the only ones in the room at the time too.
Right.
You could feel an immediate calm come over the room, and actually started creating a beneficial feel to the room, which is exactly what we've been able to find in the strategic placement of holograms on some of these devices. We're actually able to not only neutralize the wave that's detrimental, but then transform it so that it's actually amplifying the beneficial wave.
And it seems so simple. I know when it was introduced to me by my housemate, she said, yep, you just put them here, 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 and here, stick them to the wall, and it was literally one of the simplest applications I've ever seen. We have about, what do we have about? We have about 1 minute before we go into our next break. Can you just answer this question? Is this a complete solution?
It's complete in that it is, again, not neutralizing the radiation, but it's neutralizing the detrimental elements within that wave, right?
Uh-huh.
So, again, the only way to have a complete solution is just get rid of all this altogether, change the frequency, go Nikola Tesla style electrical systems, and that would help to cure a lot of these or neutralize or eliminate these elements. But for the meantime, it's the only one that we found that's complete, that you can do not only for your house but your car, your bedroom, your office, your cell phone. It's a complete solution that's universal.
That's great. I've had such great experiences with those holograms, and we're going to be going into break, folks, right now. So stay with us. After the short break, we'll be back once again talking about EMFs with Dayden Rael.
I had a question.
Please go ahead.
What? How exactly are we supposed to talk on our phones if we can't have it up to our face?
It works really well.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, it works really well.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, huh? Right. Have you ever seen the show Better Call Saul?
What?
Better Call Saul? No. It's a TV show, but they address that in there. His brother's like that. He has EMF sensitivity to EMF. All right,
let's get started.
All right, big guy.
That is some mellow music. We are back. You are listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio 790 AM, KABC. And we're here again with Dayden Rael of Sovereign Alliance talking about protecting yourself from these EMF radiation insults that we have in our environment. Thanks for hanging in there, Dayden.
No worries. We're here. It's all good.
Hey. We got so many questions here, so we're going to jump right into it. I mean, would you say that this is like quantum science, like quantum physics? This sounds like really advanced.
Oh my God, yes. Here here's the classic statement for you.
Okay.
Basically, you could say basically that these are projection algorithms within the fractal universe.
Oh, that sounds deep.
Okay. Yes. It gets deeper. They can hold within their construction, the transmutational qualities of any natural element. So basically what that means is when we design them as with the elements that we're putting into it, they talk to, or they draw energy from all of the natural elements.
We're talking about the holograms that right now, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Yeah.
Wow.
What essentially does is it draws in, because we were in a fractal universe, then it amplifies it exponentially, and then projects that balancing and centering wave into any given space.
Wow.
So if that's not quantum science, I don't know what is.
There you go. Well, that is a good answer to that question there. Hey, we've talked about these holograms for your living and workspaces. What do you do about your own personal space, about your body? What do you take one of these and slap them to your forehead? I mean, I know they're good looking, but I'm not going to wear a bindi forehead thing going on here. It's just not my style. What do you got?
No, not me neither. Well, we've created a line of personal items that when you're out and about that you can wear, which we call frequential art.
Okay.
It's based on our technology. The first one we've created is what we call the Vivibolt.
Okay.
And it's part of a line, the line of frequential art that we call them viviglyphs, or basically living glyphs, like living pictographs that are like hieroglyphs in Egypt that you find. Those
is this
they're
like
actually
jewelry?
witnesses relative to that.
Is this jewelry?
Yeah, this is jewelry. And
Wow.
Yeah, in this case, we've designed one that looks like a lightning bolt, and or is in the shape of a lightning bolt, and that draws from other ancient elements of different of sigils from the Nordic I don't want to say religions, because they're not really the spiritual, the spiritual elements of the North. But hieroglyphs, whilst they're found on the walls in Egypt, they're actually 3D forms that manifest all the planes of existence, or manifest the planes of existence. Like, for instance, if you see someone wearing the flower of life, that's actually, comes from Egypt. It's on the wall. It's a hieroglyph on the wall. And when you wear that, you're actually putting yourself in resonance with that. You're tuning into the intent and the frequency of the original design. So these things work great for, as tools for deepening and anchoring the intent, set forth for your meditation and yoga practice.
Right.
And in this case, with the Vivibolt, you're going into a more heart-centered and grounded, state of mind.
Wow, that is great. How does this Vivibolt actually do all of this? I mean, can you give us some ideas on just the mechanics of how it's doing all that?
Sure. It has its transmutational characteristics that we build into it for EMF as well. All our pieces do.
Right.
But which helps to clear the mind. So you get rid of the fog, right? And or cut through the fog. But then when we made it, we actually tuned the density and the overall resonance of the piece to the heart chakra. In other words, different materials resonate at different rates, and we were able to calculate through our advanced CAD systems, what the frequency of silver, say, resonates at, and then within so the combination of the material plus the shape, we're able to calculate the frequency that it should resonate at, and then we tune that to the heart chakra. So and by doing that, it creates that sympathetic internal compass and aligns your heart energy with, cool things like self-love and conscious co-creation.
These would be good things for anyone. Hey, question for you here. I was reading some of the literature on this, where people can get at sovereignalliance.com, and they can check it out. Sovereign, like you'd spell sovereign, and alliance, like you'd spell alliance.com. And
with a dash in there, though, too. We have a dash in there, so it's sovereign-alliance.
Sovereign-alliance.com. I'm glad we got that one covered. Everybody's searching through the internet. So sovereign-alliance.com. There was something about codexes. What is this thing about codexes? Can you get into that at all?
Well, a codex is effectively a program.
Okay.
Right. And we deal with codexes all the time when we deal with computer programs. For those of your listeners that are into that, and again, it's a reinforcement of literally what we're doing. I mean, this is effectively like the science of tomorrow. So everything stems, from the codex of shape, sound, and color that in the right quantities transforms the quality of the environment.
So basically, you're saying that this item that people wear around their neck that looks fashionable and cool and is also programmed to allow people to sort of zone into their heart and maybe have connections with the spiritual world. I mean, what kind of benefits is a person going to get from this?
Well, that's an interesting question.
There we go.
I could say almost what kind of benefit could they not get from it?
I am ready for an interesting answer. Go ahead.
For sure. Well, we do a lot of work with practitioners.
Okay.
So we can get into a spiritual aspect of this.
Okay.
Too, where you have different fields of spiritual work as to classify it, i.e. Reiki, acupuncture, maybe direct, meditation centers. There's a great unfolding of that as we start coming into the Aquarian age, where we're getting more in tune with the spiritual realm,
right,
and passing off the past and the dogma therein.
Right.
So, but when we work with them, we're finding we're getting more and more often we're getting feedback from them that says, not feedback, but we're getting statements from them that says they're encountering effectively a clouding or an element of interference in their work, right? And that we've obviously completely attribute to the cell phones and whatnot. What it did, though, is it caused us to look at specifically what was that specific element that was causing that problem, and we actually located something within the emission specifically from new cell phones, smart meters, and Bluetooth.
Ooh, this sounds fun. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's what we call an infrared emission, and it has infrared attributes to it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, when you get into the esoteric element, it's a different type of health risk in that the infrared, the beneficial infrared, signals were things that we would go to in ancient times to sit with a shaman or an oracle, and they would instill a frequency of this infrared beneficial into the environment, which would actually literally wake up the person or give them the ability to quote unquote see or enhance their ability to see. Now, what we found is within these new cell phones and smart meters, or this new EMF emission, is that this infrared emission, the detrimental infrared emission, is actually neutralizing our ability to see. So it's messing with our whole psychic programming.
Wow. So it's sort of numbing people out, this new a set of frequencies that are coming in through these phones and other sources, which are sort of numbing out our third eye, as one might say.
Absolutely. Along with, different types of things that we have, in our environment in general, just the general toxins like heavy metals, all of those things mess with, your internal chi, as it were.
This is all really great information. Wow. Keep on going. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's okay. So we when we found that, we said, what can we do to neutralize that, which we did. We found we actually had to go readdress the specific positioning of the holograms. Now, you've got your holographic environment set up properly. There's another layer that we can do, and we want to make sure that we can get that to you, where we have the larger holograms, which you've used in the 8 corners of your sleeping space, but then we also have smaller size, which are half again the size, that go on your bed. So we want to make sure that we put those on your bed frame, because then the scenario is complete within the environment to neutralize these newfound infrared emissions that we've encountered.
Wow, that is utterly amazing. Hey, David, could you tell me how can people get these holograms in the Vivibolt? Where do you access this?
Well, it's very simple. Our website, our company is called Sovereign Alliance, and our website is sovereign-alliance.com. And through there, you can very easily scroll down. We have a whole series of different things that we work with. First, the holographic, elements to set up your environment. Then we have, again, the Vivibolt, which is very interesting. What's interesting about all the things we do is they tend to talk to each other. So you just keep adding layers to your protection, as it were. And then we have another system of radionics that gets into homeopathic remedies that are also a holographic system too, for different pathogens in the system. And we're going to be we're constantly developing new things. So there you'll find a whole myriad of different things with descriptions on what they do. And as we update the website, we'll have all of our instructions for placement of holograms and how to make the best out of that.
Great. Dayden, it's been really great having you here. And I also understand that you're offering free shipping for our listeners when it comes to this, when they enter the discount code 1111, which is an angel number. That's 1111. That's really, really great. Dayden, thank you so much for being our guest. We're wrapping up and we're going into our section on commercials and news. For being our guest today on the Adam Harman Show, ladies and gentlemen, Dayden Rael from Sovereign Alliance. Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Hey, have a good one now.
Take care. You too.
All righty. Well, you know something. We're heading into our final segment right now. And the bottom line is we're going to have a short break. And when we come back, we're going to have a magical and mystical guest here on The Adam Harman Show.
Sorry about that. I jumped the gun with the applause. All right, guys, you ready to knock out this last one? All right.
For the past 25 years, Dr. Robert Rakowski has been one of the most respected names in the field of functional medicine. He's lectured at many prestigious universities and trained thousands of healthcare providers in natural medicine on behalf of numerous health-related companies, including Metagenics, one of the most trusted manufacturers of supplements sold through healthcare providers. Over the years, Dr. Rakowski has always stayed on the cutting edge of science, constantly looking for the next breakthrough discovery in the field of nutrition. So, here it is. Imagine coffee that's actually good for you. Coffee that tastes great, that's not acidic, rich in antioxidants, and fortified with a phytobotanical that's been proven to nutritionally support your immune system. Tens of thousands of Dr. Rakowski's patients and followers are enjoying guilt-free, super healthy, and delicious coffee every day. If you love coffee, you owe it to yourself to go to www.bettercoffeeshop.com, and when you get there, click the Join Now button to find out how you can get this amazing coffee at wholesale prices. That's www.bettercoffeeshop.com. Now, that's good coffee. Check it out today.
Ooh, we are back. We are back. You're listening to The Adam Harman Show on Talk Radio 790 AM KABC. Oh, my, Wayman, is it that time again?
It's that time again.
Oh, well, then it's time for...
The fabulous Dovey Leroy, cosmic astrologer.
Dovey Leroy. I am feeling so cosmic here.
Oh, good.
It is your moment in the show where you're going to be sharing fabulous astrological insights, great wisdom, you oracle.
Oh, yes.
Of fantastitude.
Yes, with all the energy.
The energy. What is going on with Jupiter? Tell me, Jupiter.
Yes.
It's a big planet.
Yes, it is. It's all about expansion.
Okay.
And on January 16th, we have Jupiter in Scorpio sextiling Pluto in Capricorn.
Sextiling.
Yeah.
This is public radio here. This isn't XM or anything.
They are getting along very well.
Really?
And this is a good time for self-transformation.
Okay.
Yes, and it's about changing yourself in positive ways. So, but you might feel a desire for more personal significance during this time,
Okay.
and that may motivate us to pursue personal or professional goals. So it's about wanting to better yourself.
That's a good thing. Well,
Yes.
you also mentioned there's something going on with the moon.
Yeah, we have a new moon in Capricorn.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah,
I
and
thought you were going to tell me it was made out of cheese or something. No?
moon cheese.
Cheese. There we go. Moon pies.
And,
Go ahead.
The concentrated energies of the sign Capricorn help us to initiate professional projects. Yes. And we can focus on where we are going in life, where we want to be, the goals we want to achieve, and how we want to achieve them.
That sounds like a smart sort of thing there.
Yes.
Okay, so now the next area you spoke about, something having to do with Venus.
Yeah, the planet of love.
Ooh.
So that is on January 18th, and Venus is entering Aquarius. So people will move towards unconventionality in their social and romantic relationships. Out of the ordinary. It's going to be fun.
Ooh.
And relationships are less emotional because they rely more on the head than the heart.
Interesting.
Yes. And this is a time where friendship and love kind of have a thin line.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Watch out here, folks. She's just my friend. Honey, I didn't mean it.
I didn't mean it.
It was the stars that did this to me. Okay.
Yeah. So, that's going to be the fun Venus Aquarius energy.
Ah, there we go. And you had mentioned also something going on with the sun.
Yes.
Is this sunspots or something more interesting?
I hope not.
There we go.
On January 20th, the sun, which is your soul representation,
Okay.
enters Aquarius,
Okay.
the water bearer. And Aquarius is the sign of liberty and understands the importance of being independent. So this is a very mentally active and social sign as well. And it's really a time to reconnect with the world.
Oh, that sounds
So
like a good
getting back
thing.
out there, socializing, being in that kind of an environment.
That's great. All right, girl. Now's your wrap up. Go for
Yes.
it. Give us some advice here.
Alrighty. Embrace the best version of yourself. Focus on your goals and how you want to manifest them. And also, moving into Aquarius gives us an opportunity to step back from our individual identities and realize that every living thing on Earth is valuable and connected.
Oh, that is just downright beautiful. Downright beautiful. Well,
Yes.
thank you, W. Leroy. How can people find you to get a natal chart?
Yes, you can contact me through www.wleroyastrology.com.
Wow, that's great. You make sure you give her a call because this young lady is good at what she does.
Give me a ring.
Give her a ring. That's great. Hey, we are making it to the final portion of the show. And that portion of the show we call the Be the Change moment. You know, a wise man once said that if you want change in the world, you better be the change you want to see in the world. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing it here, but I think it's important. Well, today we spoke about EMFs, energy, frequencies that affect us. But the frequencies that affect us most are our beliefs. Positive or negative, our beliefs will give you permission to access your abundance, or on the other hand, they could keep you lonely and constantly hungry. So what are your beliefs? Are they moving you forward, or are they just holding you back? Here's an example of that. If you've recently been bringing more value to your company that you work for, yet the company has been displaying some cost-cutting initiatives, do you ask them for a raise? Interestingly. You might have one of two thoughts here. First of all, do you believe that the money isn't available for the raise, so you don't ask for fear of rejection? Or do you believe that your efforts have made the company more profitable, so they should give you a raise? These are two different beliefs in the way we look at things. You see how beliefs work? They can hold you back, or they can set you free. Have you ever used the term, "I'm just being realistic," to keep yourself from getting the joy and abundance you deserve in life? You know, think about it. Be honest with yourself on this one. This is your life. we're talking about here is your life. Just take a deep breath right now. Take a moment and think about it. Probably one of the best ways to shift your beliefs for the better is to notice your judgments in life and to make changes there. How do you judge yourself? How do you judge others? Have you told yourself that you're not good with money, let's say, because your spouse or your partner yelled at you once about doing something, well, financially irresponsible? So these days, you find yourself less than confident when it comes to money matters. Interestingly, how do you think that judgment is affecting your bottom line? Probably not too positively, I would guess. Not at all. Here's another one. Have you ever avoided talking to the prettiest woman in the room because you had some experience in the past that made you think that all pretty girls are popular, full of themselves, and would totally ignore you? Well, that's interesting. Uninformed judgment of others can keep you from meeting awesome people and interacting with your world in an honest, powerful, and courageous fashion. Here's a great technique that I actually teach men and women, by the way, who are afraid of talking to the most attractive person in the room. I love this technique. Basically, what we do is the following, is many times when you're looking at an attractive person of the opposite sex, let's say in a party situation or in a bar or some social gathering, as you're looking at them, you look at them almost as a suitor, as a companion. You may look at them in a sexual way, okay, in an intimate way. And that energy revolves around your groin. We like to call that your first chakra, okay? And it's sort of stewing around that area. I teach many times men and many times women to be able to take that energy and imagine it like a red mist rising up into your heart. And then all of a sudden, when you've made it rise totally into your heart, okay, and you feel that energy inside your heart, then imagine that person you're looking at, that amazingly beautiful or handsome person. Look at them with divine witness. And what divine witness is seeing their greatest self come out, their greatest unfolding of their conscious future come out. And if you can see them in that light, with that energy that was once in your groin up in your heart, then walk over to them. And you would be surprised just how many people do extremely well in meeting people at that, folks. It works extremely well. Great techniques like that and others really fill the pages of my book entitled The Official Wizard's Training Manual. And when you start really recognizing your untapped inner magic, it is truly an awesome experience. You can check out The Official Wizard's Training Manual on Amazon.com, or you can purchase it online at our website at theadamharmonshow.com. And at just $11.11, we are not getting rich, but we are enriching the hearts, minds, and spirits of our listeners. Well, that's The Official Wizard's Training Manual. Check it out. And today we're just about to wrap it up, okay? It's time to wrap up things here at the show. Make sure you tune in next time at Saturday at 9 p.m., we're going to be having a great conversation with a truly successful businessman, and it's going to be under the subject of the business of spirituality, interestingly, with Jeff Siegel, a very successful owner of Mystic Journey Bookstore and Mystic Journey Yoga. Well, until next time, all of us here at the Adam Harman Show would like to thank you for listening, and we hope you have a week filled with good vibrations.